Just do that, Steve.
This is probably the best thing for everyone.
No, we're not allowed to do that. Oh, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, it's me, Rich.C, with Steve and Gary. One day after 6 months, you think we'd get the right directions in there.
No, it's because you keep swapping sides, so I don't know who's where. I need to just draw arrows and sticky notes on the screen here.
Say that, it's the opposite on the
point this way. Yeah.
Enough of that. What are we up to this week, Steve? What's been happening?
Busy. We're cutting back in orders. Yeah. So no, we had Charlotte's back this week, which has been good.
Excellent. Another pair of hands on deck. Yeah,
she's come back. So that's been good. We've not seen her. Well, we've seen her, but not seen her. She's been at home, so she's come back now, which is great. And she's been doing a little bit of stuff with you, hasn't she?
Yes, been experimenting. So we're hoping to see a bit more work coming our way. Some new ideas as well, which is quite cool. Yeah. Looking forward to some of those.
Some hip happening youth instead of us.
Fogies. Old greybeards go see in front of you. And of course, last week we were wrapping up with chapter 3 of the Ruined City. So that's gone down really well. I know quite a lot of headed out the door.
Just a bit.
And how's all the loose bits gone there, Steve?
Yeah, they've been okay. There's people that jumped in early with chapter 1 are obviously working out what they're going to do. But I think the thing is the chapter 1, 2, and 3, because you've got that sort of crossover and there isn't any duplication in those. You don't. It's going to take people a little bit to work out what the layouts are going to be, what they maybe want to add. So, but there's a couple of pieces that people seem to be wanting more of. The low walls have been very popular on their own, but they make some great scatter. So
they do indeed, and I believe this week we've got, with chapter 4 coming out, we've got another last set of low walls to come and some more high wall pieces as well.
Yes. There's a bit of height, a bit of both, isn't there? There's some low stuff and some high stuff in chapter 4. So yeah.
And that brings us nearly to the end of how many kits, Gary? How many did we end up with?
There's 30, 31, 29, 31.
Somewhere about that.
Initial.
Yeah, and then there's the other ones that we haven't done anything with.
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 extras.
5 or 6 extras that we keep coming up with.
They need test cutting. Instructions.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So I'm looking forward to seeing the first few of those being built by everybody. Now the first 3 are out. Chapter 4 is coming shortly. I believe that's this Sunday as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Along with the individual parts from chapter 3. So
that's right.
Really add to the collection.
You're saying that like I might know.
Oh God! I've been painting these.
I'm just hoping that the leading questions you're asking me and not things that I should know.
Absolutely. So that'll be the question about what things have we added to the range from our other ranges that could be cool.
Yeah. So no. So I'm sure there'll be some ideas. We had Andy Meacham made a little suggestion, so we've something he'd like to see, which would help him in his layout. So we've actually Gary knocked that up, quite a simple little piece. So we've done a little test cut on that, and we're gonna have a play. Fired some off to Andy, so that'd be quite cool. Right, so just adds a little bit of an angle to it all, but in a clever way.
And it'd be really nice to see Andy's layout when he's got that added in, that little extra, and see what people think, because that could be something useful all round. I see. Before we move on to the other thing, we've got a question about 10 mil buildings. Yeah,
have we thought about it? Oh yeah, we have, haven't we? In fact, there's some that exist, and they're just sitting in there.
Yeah, you've got some painted test cuts. I did.
Yeah, there's painted stuff and everything.
We've got a few of those.
There's a few other bits and pieces that redesigned because of the test cut. But yeah, they exist.
Yeah. So yeah, things like that. Just shout about what 10 mil buildings would you like to see if we did do some more? So,
and there's a good chance they're already ready. We just haven't had a chance to even look at releasing them. With the current situation, it's been all hands on deck where we can. For those that can actually come in. Now, a couple of the other questions are relating to the Ruin City, Gary. Particularly how I know you've got card prototypes is the ones that you've been working on. But how have you coloured them? What have you done to work on the colours of the stone?
Well, let me just
freeze.
No.
Yeah. So you can answer the next question while he sorts that, which was about someone asked about packing up the snow. Oh, he's back.
Oh, right, okay.
No, you can answer that. I'll carry on. Well, I'll just sort of leave that freeze.
Right, so the snow. Yeah, so that question was about how we did sort of the bulking up of the snow, wasn't it? I've got one here. Now, this one I haven't really bulked the snow up that much, but because I'm working on the final MDF versions of the ruins, what I'm able to do is use a combination of kind of Mod Podge and about 50-50 split, close to maybe 40-60 split, 40 of glue, 60 of water.
Yeah.
And I only use a little bit, let it soak in. After about 20 minutes, I'll shake it off, and then I'll use a dropper, an eyedropper, or a drop off the end of a brush to let it drop onto the previous patch of snow and a layer of glue. And then I'll sprinkle on the snow that I've got, snow flock, and gradually build it up. Now that, if I want a really thick layer, something like a big snowdrift, then I'll do either of a couple of different things. I've got either good old putty, it's just builder's putty, polyfiller type mixture, which looks quite stodgy, but you can always activate it a bit more with a bit of water. Not much, because it doesn't need a lot.
Another good one, Rich, is use PVA to actually activate it.
What I'll do is add in my PVA or Mod Podge to it to help it adhere and also prevent cracks forming as it dries and cures. And that gives it that elasticity you need when you're working with things that maybe flex a bit, like the walls on the buildings. Or if you've got a bit more time and want to really mess about, you can get Sculptamold or something very similar, which is kind of like a papier-mâché almost, but it's very fine fibrous material.
Yeah.
Again, you only need a small amount mixed up to create the fur, and again, I'll use Mod Podge, and that is all I need just to create a bulk. And the reason I'll use Mod Podge particularly, and I use the matte version, is this one doesn't yellow. Sometimes with the PVA glue, it will yellow over time, and the Mod Podge I found doesn't. As long as I haven't put it over the top of something I haven't sealed, where I've used a pen. So if I use one of the color pens to create an effect like algae or the moss growing on the walls, and then I'll put the glue over the top. Of course, if I haven't sealed
leach into it and re-wet it. Yeah.
Snow, so you end up with green or yellow snow.
And they know what they say about yellow snow.
Absolutely. There's not lemon popsicles. No. So if you have already used a pen effect, seal it and then do it. But otherwise you can just build up layers.
I'm going to add another one to your Rich.
Sorry?
I'm going to add another material to your Rich.
I was going to say, once that's dry, I'll just finish it off with a bit more of the flock. But Gary, what have you got? Because there's a totally different way as well.
People got. We did the Russian railway station, and we took that to Crisis. Yeah, thank you for that. you do have a purpose being up in that corner, and I use this stuff and it's an air drying putty clay that has no water in it, so it's really good with card. Yay! Exactly, and it's cool stuff, isn't it, Rich?
It's excellent. It's excellent stuff. It's very light and fluffy as well. So if you don't add weight, which Popular would do, that perfect.
That literally is like a it air dries. It's also because it's kids stuff. It's antibacterial. It doesn't grow mold afterwards or anything like that, as some things can do. And as Rich said, which is the cracking issue, it won't crack. So the lightness is what's really good, because at exhibitions and things, you pick things up, and if there's one thing we've got on a terrain tile, which is an actual lump of stone, it's a big pebble, and that it cons you every time you pick it up. You want to drop it.
I was just looking because I believe who said it there? Jamie, was it? Or Adam? Someone said using kind of a builder's caulk, which I sometimes do, but you've got to make sure you got one that doesn't crack.
Yeah.
I'll get that out. Right, so that's my snow and some other ones, but you can also use all sorts of other things. Gary, often I've seen Gary using an artist's sort of stucco just to build a bit of depth. You can use it for water as well and waves. But icicles, again, icicles are just trim a bit of plastic card.
The artist stuff is good for slushy effects as well.
Yes,
a bit of snow around it, can't it? Yeah, because you can let it dry clear or muck it up a bit.
You can get,
there's some really good artists with grains, sand in them that can be put on, built up. They're designed to go onto papers as much as canvas. So again, as Rich was saying about the amount of water that you're putting on, although it won't affect the MDF, it can affect your paint underneath, your glue. It can affect anything else going on around it. So they're really quite cool.
Yeah, and with ice and icicles, a bit of clear silicone sometimes is all you need, and just spread it on a bit of tin foil, so it's fairly thin, and then draw it into with a cocktail stick or something into points. Let it dry, and then when it's dry, it's flexible, but you can just peel it off and stick it where you want.
Cool.
Right, so that's snow and a bit of icicles, which I'm sure we'll cover another game at some point. But Gary, now it looks like you've got your castle in view.
Yeah.
And you put it together as a castle. It's got lots of tones, different.
It has. Now, I cover this in the book, in a couple of the technique sections about doing stone and brick and things like that. So these are the MDF panels that actually are in the book. And they demonstrate how it's done. As Rich said, is the prototype I've got here. I'm attached to headphones, so I don't want to pull my laptop off too far. So bear with. It's a card prototype, and so you can put quite a bit of water on the card. And I've been playing with that on some other stuff today. And as you can see, all I'm using there, I've used a cool grey or a warm grey 2 as like a marker pen, just to give some sort of shading effects all over it. But then what I've actually used is crayons, pencil crayons, to colour in the areas. So in the book, bear with, I'm using 3 panels in the book, and actually I demonstrate it by just putting a base colour down, a dry brush. Well, thank you, Rich. Well done.
891. There you go.
I've got stuff over. I've got a stack here, but I've got things that you can't see stacked all over them. Yeah. So basically, I go through the step by step of it's the same etch pattern. Not all stone is grey or brown, and then it's using pencil crayons. Now I use a mixture. These are wax Derwent Studio crayons. Yeah, you can also get the watercolor ones. I'm not a brand loyal pencil user. I'm mainly I like the color. I always go for a color. So that is literally it. It's just shading in. Now the other way of doing it is, of course, using a marker pen. So you can actually pick out a brick with terracotta colors. So you can actually get in there. Rich has been practicing with the water-based aqua color brush pens, which you can then thin down with a bit of water.
Yeah, they're great for cooler effects around the windows and stuff.
You can just soften it off, and so it merges in and feathers out. But also you can use, if you use permanent marker pens, be a bit precise with them. But if you want to get some sort of more dramatic effects, you can use acetone, 92% or whatever acetone. Pop into Superdrugs in the UK, and you can get a bottle of that for 99p, and use a brush, and you can actually get the marker pens to lift, and then they'll start bonding with the colors underneath as well, so you can merge them in.
Kind of merging and blending. Yeah.
And I've been playing, because this is cardboard, this is something I've been playing with in the last few days. It's not airbrushed. It's using, similar to the brush pens, they use refill inks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually get the surface of the card damp, and then you brush on and you brush on, or use a tissue, sort of dabbing onto the surface, the color, and then you start merging. It's almost airbrush.
Yeah.
In that way. So there's lots of ways of doing it. As I say, this prototype was done purely with crayon or pencil crayon. I get told off by an 8-year-old for calling them crayons.
Yeah.
Pencils. And then you can also use this chalk pastels pencils as well, which you can use, and then you can smudge those out. You can use water on those as well.
A bit like weathering powders that would be used. But you can
very rarely use weathering powders anymore. I use I literally use chalk.
Well, that's basically a weathering powder is a chalk or a pastel that's been ground.
It's pigment, yes. It's pigment prior to it being mixed with either oil color or acrylic or water. So that's
great.
So yeah,
cool.
So that's how all of that lot was done.
That's the one.
Coloured pencils. So it's just, we could do painting by numbers?
Yeah. But
I need a bit longer ladder to get up to the top of those. Nice one, Gary.
I've had some interesting neighbours just lately using the lorries and their vans to rest long ladders up against. Very weird stuff going on.
Right. So the next question, Gary, you might need to move the castle because you've got a piece ready, I think. Somebody asked, I can't think of who now,
now
putting our pieces, a lot of them are stuck to the terrain tiles, and that with their current terrain, they don't want it on a terrain tile. And you've got one of our European buildings, I think.
Yeah.
In just such a situation.
Again, this one is in the book, used for multiple techniques. And I think, underneath the lumps, your technique, there's plaster of Paris under there.
Yep.
And stuff. Now that is a model. It's on a terrain tile. However, it doesn't have to be. Bear with. There we go. None of that is fixed. So all of that was just pieces to put in to get effect.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have many ranges that are permanently fixed to terrain tiles.
No, we don't. No, I think the Ruined City is pretty much
the Ruined
City, the Med Village stuff, and the Alamo.
But then with the Alamo and the Med City, there are only a couple of little tags.
Yeah,
actually two tags buildings to just locate them on the tile. So
I mean, you could it would not be very difficult at all to be honest. I think with some of them, the tags are that small, you could probably just set them on the table and not bother taking the tags off, and you wouldn't really notice it. But if you wanted to take them off and just ignore the base, you could quite easily. What I'd do is build the building on the base, because it'll help with squaring everything up, but just don't glue the walls to the base. And then when you're done, just lift it off, and then you can use the base or not like that. you could build it as a little freestanding kit.
So
Or
Gary, what Gary looks like you've done there is those rubble piles. Did you put a piece up against the building and then build to that piece?
Yeah. Literally, I used a plaster, as you can see there, the white there at first. Sort of, actually. I'm now remembering what I did. Totally. I actually used a plastic box into those areas. So I drew the base square of the building.
Yeah.
And then basically used a plastic business card box.
Yeah.
Put into the area and then built up quite a thick plaster of Paris. I was using proper plaster of Paris, which you can get by adding more powder. It becomes a real putty cheese.
Another thing you can do with things like that, if you don't want them to bond, is if you were to get even just the building and put masking tape around the edge and underneath, and then just get a little bit of Vaseline or petroleum jelly and just rub a little bit on, tiny bit on it. It'll just not stick, so you can put it in place, glue everything to it, and then just lift it out and peel the masking tape off, and then there'll be nothing.
So, that's a great way of doing it when you can actually have that building separate in a different display or storage, and that tile can come away.
I think also, even if you take the Ruined City, it opens up possibilities for some serious scratch building and kit bashing between them to make things up. Beyond because you could take a couple of wall sections and make your own tiles up to fit in, because there's nothing to stop you taking two sets and put all the walls together on one tile, or not using the tiles.
True.
We'll maybe have a go at that.
It's a really, really old film, but Colonel Blimp, if you ever watch it, it is really, really old. At the end, his house gets bombed, and basically that's what's left once they cleaned the rubble up. It became a little pond.
I reckon a clever bit of paintwork there. You can make it look like there was a cellar.
So, and that just, if you do it, get the size right, that just clips straight back in.
Just a case of rearranging how you want.
Most of your rubble piles, it's just little bases and things with offcuts and scraps and push outs from the kits.
It's on little bits.
Particularly, and of course, that was the business card box as well, by the way. You can even see the mold.
Particularly when you've got a ruined building like those, they come with plenty of bits to pop out, don't they, as well? From the rafters and the tiles on the roof. Or you just add in some of those spare tiles that we do, and you've got the extras that you need. Perfect.
Adam's asking a question about the Ruined City, about having trapdoors, tunnel entries. There are some bits that might have that, yes, and they might go somewhere.
There are some trapdoors. That's kit 32.
As it happens, we're chapter 4 coming, and a few extra bits. I think that we'll be focusing on some new things as we go into October, and then coming back to it as well. So we'll see what we can get out in the next release. Looking forward to some of those. Lots of ideas coming in to do a few extra walls and a few extra pieces. So I think we could be going further up and further down at some point.
Jamie, Jamie needs to stick the photos in the feed afterwards when he gets them. He took some photos of the castle wall, and he was looking for ideas on how to get a similar look. So stick them in, and we can come back to it later.
It's actually a good point, isn't it? Jamie's brought up there that when you're doing anything like this, just look around. It doesn't have to be a castle wall, and it could be an old municipal building.
Well, I think there's a section in the book, Gary's got lots of photographs, and whenever we go out, you look at things and how they weather. And even brand new buildings, it doesn't take long to start showing weathering signs, because and it does water and things like that follow.
I'm forever going around taking notes, taking photographs of buildings generally, just in case somebody wants something. But all the weathering and stuff. And it is the last chapter of the book, basically saying, look, it's out there. Have a look.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, again, it's hold it upside down. Get quick. It's all in there. Well, most of it anyway. I'm sure we'll do a part 2 soon.
Well,
come on, Gary. Okay, guys. Well, great chatting to you again tonight. I hope we've answered a load of questions for everybody. Lots of ideas and inspiration coming through. And I want to look at some more of these pictures from Jamie and others. And I want to see everybody's ruined cities. So post them in on our Facebook feed and let's see what you're up to. But I think to finish off, do you want to say anything about next week, Steve? Because I think we're coming up to something special.
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a funny one because we've got next week. We've been doing this for 6 months. Next week, would you believe? We started it when lockdown started as a way of well, it was a way for us to have a chat as well. Sometimes a bit of a laugh and and 6 months later, we're still doing it. We've still got nothing of interest to say, really, but question the value of it. Yeah. So we got that, but then also at the end of the month, October sees our 10th birthday. So this has been going 10 years. 10 years, yeah. So it's kind of flown by.
So I think everybody needs to tune in next week and see if we can't wring some special things out of Steve to celebrate.
Maybe.
What do you say, Gary?
Right. Yeah. So come back next week and we'll see what we can do something special for our 6-month show and start the celebrations for our 10th birthday.
I think so. So everybody, make sure if you've missed the video, spread the word to those that have missed it. They can catch it on our Facebook feed and also on our YouTube channel, and catch up with any previous ones for the top tips. And we'll see you in the newsletter on Sunday. But otherwise, face to face next Thursday.
Yeah.
See you later, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, Steve.
See you. Bye.